Today's topic would be on contract. What is a contract? Okay, contract means basically an agreement, okay, between two parties minimum. Now, sometimes I do get questions, sir, why is contract so difficult? To be very honest, contract is not a difficult paper or difficult subject. Technical, I agree completely. Contract is actually where two or more parties, okay, go on to agree on any kind of obligation, but preferably a legal obligation. I'll tell you why. Should you agree for any moral obligation, which is also known as mere promise, or should you agree for any illegal or immoral obligation, take it from me, the law does not give any recognition for that matter. A contract has to be a legal obligation between two or more parties to enter into any kind of agreement, any form of agreement. It could be in writing, it could be by verbal or by oral, or it could be by conduct. But then the trouble starts is, how would you enforce a contract if it is going to be by verbal or by conduct? A very simple example would be, just say you were to walk into any retail shop, say a 7-Eleven, and you were to buy something, say a loaf of bread. You just got to go to the counter, pay the money, and you walk off. By conduct, you enter a contract. But then what happens is, should you buy a car in Singapore, you have to sign a hire purchase agreement. Now, this contract is by writing. Okay. Now, whenever it comes to writing, there's always a codification, there's always a certainty of terms, and you would be able to enforce the contract. But when it comes to a contract by conduct or by verbal, say example, I go for a tea and I order for a tea. But verbally I ordered for a tea, the tea maker makes me a coffee or a tea, and then I drink and I pay. What happens is, the enforceability is there, I'm not denying. But what happens is, you will lack on the enforceability. But should you enter a contract in writing, normally commercial agreements you enter in writing, it's always enforceable, it's always legal, and it's always traceable. Should you breach any obligation in a contract, what will happen? You'll be imposed a sanction called damages. So my question to you is, while you know how to enter a contract, what are the essentials of a contract? Okay, basically, you need 7 elements of a contract. Example, you need an offer. That means, if I were to offer you my car, I'm an offeror. So I'm making an expression of willingness to sell my car. The party that's going to buy the car would be an offeree. In Singapore, you may use the word proposal, okay, or you may use the word promise. It sounds a synonym. Thirdly, you need consideration. Now, what is consideration? Money. Simple English, money. Why? No money, no talk. That means, without having money, you would not be able to enforce any contract. A very simple example would be, if a father were to promise the daughter, should you pass F4, I would buy you a handphone or a laptop probably. The daughter took the promise so serious that she burned a midnight oil and she studied so hard and she actually passed. Okay. What happens is, now the father is going to say, look daughter, I'm not going to buy the laptop, I'm not going to buy the phone. The daughter will say, I thought you made me a contract. But then the courts will say, look, a contract can be made, but this will be a mere promise. Now, what consideration did you provide? The daughter would say, I studied very hard, I burned my midnight oil. But then the father will say, that may not amount to a good consideration. Why? A contract needs money or money's worth. Now the daughter will turn around and say, my effort would mean money's worth. This is what I mean by consideration. The fourth element that you need in a contract would be capacity. In order for you to enforce a contract, you need to be minimum 18 years old. Of course, you can ask me another question. What happens if I'm below 18? Can you enter a contract? Of course you can, but you can only enter for necessity. Necessity means any contract which is not luxurious. Example, food, shelter, clothes. Okay. The fifth element that you need here would be, you need a consenting mind, meaning Mr. A and Mr. B must agree to the same term, okay, mutually. Meaning, John willing to sell his car to Ramu. Ramu is willing to buy. So question comes here, are they agreeing mutually? Yes, they are. That means automatically you have a consenting mind. Okay. The last element that you need would be an intention to create legal relation. Now, what is intention to create legal relation? Every contracting party, you need the intention, meaning you need the mind to say yes. Okay, you need to be focused. You need to have the idea of entering into a contract. But the contract, again, as I said from the beginning, you have to have a legal obligation. So intention to create legal relation. Now, when will you have legal relation? Normally not during social, not during family, but definitely in commercial relation. Should you be able to have these 7 elements called, again I recap, offer, acceptance, consideration, certainty, consenting mind, okay, and finally should you have intention to create legal relation, automatically you have a full-blown contract. Now, when you have a full-blown contract, what happens? Easier to enforce, easier to take legal proceedings, or rather in simple English, easier to sue. That means your contract will become more certain, more firm, and less vague. This is how you form a very simple, basic contract. While having serious contract on the other hand, and you're having simple contract on the other hand, you will see in practice, normally you need to have a contract in black and white, meaning you have to have it in writing. So most of the commercial contracts will go in writing. But should I go for my dinner now, or should I go for my lunch later, or my breakfast, whatever the reasons are, these contracts are called simple contract. Why? You don't need to evidence a contract of such in writing. This is how you form a very basic contract with all the elements of contract.